Hello, YouTube. Before I tell you the incident that happened not long ago, let me set the background. We have long been accustomed to hearing and reading about terrifying one-eyed ogres, but mostly in fairy tales and fantasy film. But there was a very interesting finding, and may not even be the only one, that might prove that there is a reality behind those myths. The Greek Cyclopes included three immortal one-eyed giants with an eye in the form of a sphere: arg, meaning flash; bront, meaning thunder; and sterope, meaning lightning. Immediately after their birth, they were dropped by Uranus in Tartarus, the deepest abyss in the center of the earth, for the company of their violent brothers, the 100 armed Hecanotheres, who have also been born shortly before them. And of the Mediterranean, so to say, Cyclops, the most famous was the son of Poseidon, Polyphemus, whom Odysseus deprived of his only eye. Now, in Turkic mythology, Tepegöz or Tepegöz is a legendary creature who has only one eye on his forehead. It was a kind of Cyclops. He is an ogre that appears in the book of Dede Korkut, a famous epic story of the Oghuz Turks. So I'll read just a little bit from it. Years later, a herdsman of the Oghuz saw a nymph who gave birth days later. The herdsman finds the monstrous infant a fleshy thing. He is scared and runs away. Bayandur Khan, one of the Oghuz Khans or rulers, finds the infant, and while gazing on it, a crack appears in the pile of flesh. Inside of it appears a one-eyed boy. Aruz says to Bayandur Khan, "Let me raise up this strange boy." Bayandur takes him in. Later, it turns out to be the biggest mistake of his life. When the one-eyed boy grows up, he bites off a neighborhood child's nose and ear. His father scorns him, driving him away from the village. Tepegöz kills one more man, and the Khans of the Oghuz people decide to banish him forever. Years later, Tepegöz grows stronger and destroys everything in his path. Nobody is able to kill him. A sword cannot cut him. The arrow cannot kill him. Tepegöz's skin is very hard. Half of the Oghuz heroes die trying to kill Tepegöz. Just one man is able to kill him, his half-brother Basad. He uses his brain more than his power, or brawn. He killed horrible Tepegöz by striking his eye. Then he cut off Tepegöz's head with a magical sword, and thus he saved not only himself, but also his nation from the terror of Tepegöz. So in Turkic and Azerbaijani mythology, the one-eyed monster Tepegöz has elements of the myth of Odysseus and Polyphemus. That's where it can be found. While the German Orientalist Heinrich Dietrich von Dietz suggested that Homer borrowed the myth of Polyphemus from one of the Oghuz tribes after hearing the tale of Tepegöz. In Central Asia, the Cyclopes were called Devas, very evil demons living in dark caves. In Tibet, they were called Teurangs. According to legend, they were born from the fat of a space turtle and lived in a celestial sphere close to the earth. And in Transcaucasia areas, they were called Vayugs. And of course, in Greek mythology, we already mentioned. They were the sons of Uranus and Gaia, belonged to the ancient generation of deities. Now let me tell you the story. In 1985, on the territory of Crimea, at that time in the USSR, a group of archaeologists led by Mikhail Grigoriev conducted excavations near the city of Kerch. And in my other videos, I mentioned very interesting finds around that city too. During the work, 7 skeletons of people aged about 11,000 years were found. It was established that 5 of them were men and 2 women. Next to the discovery of a small community of ancient Crimeans, the archaeologists unearthed a mysterious skull. Firstly, it was shaped like the elongated skulls from the Paracas. Secondly, its age is about the same 11,000 years. It was established later. Thirdly, it had a single eye socket. The mysterious find was reported to the Institute of Archaeology of the Crimea. It was studied there for several years. The very first thing that was checked was whether the skull was remains of an animal. The fact is that the skulls of elephants and mammoths were often passed off as bones of Cyclops. It turned out that the artifact has nothing to do with animals. Alas, archaeologists could not find any other bones, only a skull, and even then with a damaged lower jaw. The age of the Cyclops skull is 11,000 years, which means that he lived at the same time as humans. Perhaps his head was brought to the community by hunters as a trophy. Experts from Mikhail Grigoriev's group are sure that the Cyclops did not die of natural causes. His maxillary bone was crushed on the right side, and his lower jaw was broken into many fragments. He probably got hit hard with a rock or a club. Thus, several conclusions can be drawn from the finding at once. Humanoid creatures with one eye are not fiction, but reality. Most likely, they possessed primitive intelligence. At the moment, the find is the only one on the territory of Crimea. The Crimea today is under the Russian control. But reportedly, similar skulls have been found in Macedonia, Bulgaria, and Czech Republic and Greece. As for the artifact, it was located in the main building of the Institute of Archaeology of Crimea. Like I said, at that time, it was Ukraine until 1996. In 1996, Mikhail Grigoriev, who had already moved to Germany by that time, came to collect the find and to present it in Berlin. He was allowed to take it out for a few days, but the artifact was not destined to return to the Crimea. The archaeologists held a conference, and then he was attacked by unknown people at the time in the suburbs of Berlin. The skull of the Cyclops was lost and has not yet been found. The story was quite a big story, but I'd like to have more details. But it turned out that the scientist was attacked by a mental patient named Graham. No matter how many people tried to find out from him where he had put the historical find, the man did not confess. Perhaps it's still resting somewhere near Berlin, or conversely, it was taken to another country, maybe some private collection, as things happen to be. In general, the most interesting artifact is lost. It's somewhat murky story with few concrete details. But it's possible that one-eyed humanoids once existed on the face of this planet. And I'm sure we'll be finding out more about such possibility. As for the Crimean Peninsula, I happened to be there many years ago, decades, in my youth, more than once. And in my videos, you can find out other references to its strange, sometimes paranormal phenomena. And I'll continue. I have more to tell you. It's an ancient piece of real estate. And it goes back to ancient Greeks and even before them. Quite interesting finds. So this is what I wanted to let you know today. Please support me through the links you'll find in description to my video, this one. And I will tell you more stories from the former Soviet Union, present-day Ukraine, Russia, Belarus, and so forth, and of course outside, like China, for example, Mongolia. Please like my videos and tell others about my work. Thank you.